Good night, everybody. We are happy to be able to share with you. We are waiting for persons to join us, so just come on and share this live, and we hope that we can be of a blessing tonight. So, good night, everybody. God bless you.
Good night. So we are here again with another Muddy Puddles, but like Nevin said, we're just waiting for persons to come on. I know it's 9 o'clock, so some persons say it's their bedtime. So those of you who are not in bed yet, you're welcome. Join us. We will be able to just explore another aspect of relationships tonight. Healthy, whole relationships, fulfilling relationships. We're all in the learning process. We're all still on the learning curve. We go up and down, but the important thing is to stay on. So, good night, everybody. Hi, Sister Jane. Good night.
Good night.
Share. Remember to share this. Start a watch party. I always have to remember because I don't remember to share all the time.
Me too.
I'm very bad at that. But good night to those of you who have come on.
Yeah.
And tonight we want to talk about a very important topic. And well, Nevin will do the sharing on that, what it is.
Just in a moment.
Yes. I hope you guys are okay. It's been a week just here, a couple of days. We just started, but it feels like it's been going on for a while. But we thank God that we're here tonight with you guys.
Yes. And as persons join, we ask you to share the live. If you think somebody might be able to benefit, let's pray that you can share it. Tell us if the volume is better.
Yes.
Maybe adjust the volume, honey, at the top.
At the top?
Mm-hmm.
You might have to come under this, eh?
Right there.
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So I hope you're hearing well now.
Hope you're hearing well.
Is it better?
Volume is a bit low.
Yeah, is it better now? Let us know. And we want you guys to be a part of the discussion. Ask questions, make comments, especially you older folks who have been in love a long time.
Yes.
Been in relationships long time, or have, different experiences. Come on and just share the knowledge with us. We are, like I said, in the process together.
Okay.
Excellent.
Very good.
Sounding better.
Excellent. So let me start by saying we are so grateful that we can gather in this fashion. Some of you have heard already that our family was in an accident. It was quite a terrifying experience. When it happened, my first person I thought about was my wife. Then I thought about my children. I could hear them crying at the back. But we can report to you that God kept us,
Yes.
shielded us.
Yes.
We believe angelic hosts shielded our children. And maybe another time we will go in depth
With that muddy puddle.
with that muddy puddle. But our bodies feel well, and we're going to continue to monitor it
Yes.
in case anything happens. Thank you so much for reaching out to us.
Yes.
Thank you for praying for us. And we hope that by some way that this experience will be a blessing to you. Okay, good. So, what did Tina Turner say?
What's love
got to do with it? Yes, what's love got to do with it? And so we're exploring tonight how important is love in the experience of a relationship or marriage. Does it really matter? And can relationships flourish without that very important building block, that very important part, love? And so we're going to explore that. And we're going to talk about what happens when it fades. Can it come back?
Yeah.
We're going to talk about what can affect the love. And so we invite your questions or your comments or anything of the sort as we explore it. So Billy, what is love?
So you had to throw me in like that. Okay. So that's the best place to start. What is love? Love is it's a big wide circle. Let me just start, kindergarten like. Um, it is a combination of a feeling, an emotion, but past that, it is a conscious action, a conscious commitment. The reason why we talked about it, we're talking about, and we mentioned it in our building blocks when we started. Even the Bible talks about it. You could have a lot of things.
Yes.
If you don't have love, you're really kind of spinning top in mud.
Yeah.
So
Speaking tongues, you can.
in the spiritual sense, you can
Yes.
have do works and great
Faith
things.
that move mountains.
But if you don't have love, there's also the issue in relationships and marriage. You could have lots of money, you could have affluence and position, and I'm sure we know of couples like this, I've heard of couples like this, who have a lot of popularity and fame, but when they go home, it's empty love.
Yeah.
So,
And so, by the way, some people don't mind that.
yeah, that's true.
Some people don't mind that the man or the woman has plenty of money. They would fake whatever they have to fake. They would put up with whatever they have to put up with.
Yeah.
Because they want the money more than they want the person. For me, that's quite miserable.
But ultimately, people want love. We are built for love, and so that is why they will have extramarital situations going on, because the person may not love them the way they want, but they still want love.
Yes.
So you could have lots of things going on in your relationship, in your marriage, but if there isn't love, and if love isn't strong and growing, because love evolves, love changes, but the core of it remains, then the relationship will not really go that well, and it could be more challenging than fulfilling.
Right. So question, how long does it take to develop love? Is there a point at which you say, yes, I've gotten there, we reach?
No, well, you see, that's it. We were just saying that it continues to evolve. We know of situations where persons met 6 months later, they got married, and 20 years later, they're still married and happy.
Yes.
And we know of situations where people dated for 10 15 years, got married, and 6 months later, the marriage was destroyed.
That's
marriage
right.
Mash up.
Actually, I was just reading of a woman who said, I've had many relationships, but I met this man, and it has been 1 week, and he proposed to me at the end of 1 week. The writer was saying she fell in love. But the experience is nice, the butterflies and so forth, as we would have spoken about before. But when the rubber meets the road, when you have to deal with the person and their own ways, their own preferences, when you have to deal with all the different things that living in the same house and space, dealing with body functions and dealing with eventual children and so forth, when those things come into play, those butterflies tend to disappear.
They fly away.
Fly away.
Okay, so let me.
So how long does
how long does it take? There isn't a set timeline.
That's right.
It will depend on the maturity of the persons, the readiness of the persons, and the conditions in which that relationship is being built. So for some people, quite correctly, it can take 6 months, where that person or those persons make a conscious decision. I have felt the butterflies. This attraction is great, because attraction is important. The attraction is great, and then they move from attraction and move into that steady commitment stage. So we have this thing called the ideal stage in the love, where everything is good. You're attracted. If you're having sex, the sex would be good. As a matter of fact, the one writer says you begin to see everything through the eyes of love. So that's in the stage where somebody will come and say, girl, you hear this boy did this, oh, they just wanted to talk to man, so everything you see through the eyes of love, and so it's hard to see the difficulties or the problems in the person, the telltale signs.
That's right.
But then it is important to not stay there, but allow yourself to go and allow the
That's
love
right. So be careful. Those who are single and looking, if you have just started a relationship or you're not in a relationship yet, please don't make a long-term decision based on a week or two. Some people have done it and done it well, but the percentage of persons who have done that well are rather low. Even as we talk about that, we remember Love, Marriage at First
Marriage
Sight,
at First Sight. Our
The-
favorite show.
and our favorite show, and they have experts. They match people based on compatibility and so forth. It's really done well, and even in that circumstance, the rate of success, I don't even think it's maybe 10-15%,
Pretty low.
because it takes more than just compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more than experts.
Mm-hmm.
It takes more than the feeling for a week.
Yeah.
It really takes some effort. Yes? And so we're going to talk about psychology of love then.
Mm-hmm.
And we're looking at 4 different parts. Biddy?
Okay, so let's now break down this love thing so that you could begin to think about your own life, your own relationship, your own marriage if you're married. Okay, so the first thing we had in terms of the psychology of love is actually what we call intimacy. Now, I know when we talk about intimacy, the first thing many people go to, not everybody, because a lot of people are learning more, the first thing a lot of people go to is actually sex. Now, sex is only a part of intimacy. Sex is not intimacy. They're not interchangeable. So, intimacy is a bonding, an attachment that takes place in the relationship. Now, here's what sex does that too. So that is why it's easy to mix up the two of them, right? But then for intimacy to be real, for intimacy to be strong and to survive, the intimacy must be on every level of the person, mind, body, spirit. So you want to connect with that person in a physical way. You want to connect with that person in a spiritual way. You want to connect with that person on a psychological way. So you are coming to the place where you have shared interests and shared goals and shared hobbies or whatever. These things cause bonding to take place, attachment to take place. You're also at the place where you do things together. So it's very difficult to build any relationship if you're not doing things together. So intimacy involves all of that. It also involves connecting on a deep level. So you're not just connecting on the superficial, I like how you look, I like the things we do, but there is that deeper
physical
level, or the physical, there's that deeper level that you connect on where you are able to explore hidden parts of your life. So even though you go into each other's closets, you don't come out screaming, "Hella, let me get out of here," but you come out saying, "That's really dark, but I see that's who you are, and I'm willing to commit and live with this.
I'm willing to tolerate it. I'm willing to work with it."
Work with it, because tolerate can be a little. Too many people living in who just tolerate it.
Right.
Yeah, so yes.
That may not be the best word. So that's why there's a reason God says to us to wait for marriage to engage in sexual activity. The sexual activity helps with the intimacy. A lot, right? And one of these nights we are going to talk about sex.
But let me put this in quick. Remember, sex is a chemical thing. So when persons have sex in a relationship, there are chemicals in the brain. There's one called the cuddle hormone, the oxytocin, I think it's called. That actually helps in bonding. So that is why even when young people engage in sex, they begin to just want the person, because that chemical that was released in the sexual activity, it also affects the pleasure center of the brain. It keeps them wanting more, coming back for more. So if you're just building your love relationship on sex, because if you can have really good sex and nothing else, when the orgasm is over and everything is done, what do you have to fall back on?
Right.
Where's the rest of the intimacy?
So that's why we encourage people to wait.
Yes.
That's why we encourage young people to
build
wait.
Intimacy
first. And that's why some young people would do absolutely anything for the person they have connected sexually with.
Yeah.
And you say, "Oh, was she gone crazy? She has connected, or he has connected sexually, and that has literally taken over."
It's like a drug.
Like a drug, yes.
Yeah.
It's a good drug. It's a necessary drug. God made it. God bless sex. It is not evil. It is not nasty.
Yeah,
But it was meant for the man and the woman to connect in
Connect, yes.
in that particular way. Anyway, we're not going to get too deep in that. We're going to talk about that another time. But the intimacy is necessary. Passion. So the Billy, you talk about passion.
So the passion also is, and I would put passion and caring together, where and feeds off of intimacy as well. So you have that place in the relationship where both of you have that love and care. Well, I wouldn't say love, but care for each other. So you have that level of sensitivity, and that also comes from a place of respect. So it's difficult to love people that you do not respect, right? So the care brings that sensitivity into it. The passion brings that love much stronger in the relationship. So I spoke about some of it before. The passion speaks to having that interest with the same interest that you could share. It speaks to having that warmth, the ideal part I talk about, that warmth towards each other and the things that you do together. That's the
right, and the passion is
base of it.
necessary. Notice people who are passionate about basketball, or passionate about their team, or passionate about God. When you're passionate about something, nobody can easily push you away.
Yeah.
When I really want something,
Pursuing.
yes, that's why we're told of the man who said, honey, I love you so much I'd swim across the ocean for you. And one day he was supposed to go and pick her up, and the rain fell, and she just kept on waiting and waiting and waiting, and nobody came. And she finally got in contact with him, said, honey, you said you were going to come for me. You said you would swim across the ocean for me. He said, honey, I couldn't come because it was raining. He's not so passionate.
Or maybe he's realistic.
Maybe he's realistic, but he spoke so big, so mightily about the passion he had.
Yeah.
But when it came to action, nothing really happened.
Yes.
Yes? And then we talk about commitment. And the essence of love, again, we mentioned this, is commitment.
Yeah.
Are you committed to this? Are you in it for whatever may come? Come hell or high water, am I going to be committed to this effort? Yes? Because there are many marriages that might be passionate, might be some intimacy, but the commitment is not where it should be. Yeah? And a lot of the couples that survive and thrive, at the end of the day, when you check it, are absolutely committed.
Yeah.
Yes? And that's why I love the older couples about. Yeah? There's some people who have been married for a long time, mind you, everything didn't go well. They probably tolerated some
Too
things,
much, yeah.
or tolerated too much, but they were committed. We live in a time now when people cut and run too easily.
The quickest thing.
As soon as something is not going well. So we want to say to you, if you're married and you find yourself at a rough spot now, maybe the love has faded a bit. Firstly, that's normal. That's not weird. You are not alone. People have gone through that.
Yeah.
So that's just a part of the experience. So don't give up, because that's a part of the experience. Hold on. And we're going to talk to you about what you can do to get the love back up, because the fire can come back.
But let me add to that, that issue of commitment, which is what is so important. Here's why. Because, and I think you just want to reinforce that passion fades. As a matter of fact, there's some relationships where sex is not enjoyable after a while because of physical injury. I remember like some persons who have cancer. I remember hearing of a case like that. Or you may have an issue. Let's say you get pregnant and the woman is on bed rest for 7 out of 9 months. There's no sex there, and so
they had a C-section.
Something like that.
Yes. I can testify.
You survived.
I survived. Praise the Lord.
3 times.
Yes.
But there are different things that can cause intimacy, the sexual intimacy
Yeah.
and some passion to fade. As a matter of fact, you may sometimes the person may change, whether it's physically or intellectual, whatever,
Yeah.
and you start to look at the person thinking like, what's going on with you? And many times
And
people
we're going to
fall
talk about
out of love.
and we're going to talk about
Yeah.
psychological issues,
Right.
how people, all kind of things can happen. That's the
But
fun.
you must it's important that there's still commitment.
Yes, yes.
So that's why when you start out, you take the time. You don't have to. 6 months is actually a good time, based on the maturity of the persons. But you don't want to just rush into it off of the heebie-jeebies and the butterflies and the nice warm feelings. You want to sit down and take that time, because when you come out of the ideal stage, which I like, and an author calls it the ordeal stage, where you begin to see the person. As a matter of fact, some people call it the honeymoon. Let's use a regular term. In the honeymoon stage, when the person is doing everything right.
Oh yes.
Oh my, you did that.
Yes, I hope I'm still doing it.
Not everything. Because he gave me some shockers after. Like, I'm like, at one point I said to him, make it seem very comfortable here. So, and that's just the reality of it, because after a while, you're not trying to impress anymore. You get comfortable. So things can change, but you have to remain committed to the relationship, to the love.
And I'll tell you what, sometimes the best effort people have put in their relationship is before marriage.
Yeah. Well, they have to, because they have to attract and keep their attention.
And so we have to switch that in our brains, that effort is still necessary when you're actually married.
Yeah.
So this is for someone tonight. Maybe you find yourself in a relationship where it seems like the love is fading. We're gonna define that. Maybe sometimes it's not even the love per se, but some things have changed.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you don't feel the same way. It doesn't feel the same way. We are going to suggest some things. And by the way, what are some of the things that can affect the love? Can affect that?
Right.
Yeah.
So this is a lot.
A lot.
Let's
We
just
don't have
deal
the
with
time
some
for all
core
of it.
ones. One of the first things I want to suggest is, and I love to start there when I work with persons and I do my sessions, is self-love. And people say, oh, well, whatever. Yeah, he loves me. He cannot love you, or she cannot love you past how you love yourself. So now they can love you into it. But then that issue of self-love allows you to be able to give love and receive love. So one of the things that actually challenges a love relationship that has potential for greatness and for longevity is low self-esteem in individuals. We talk about a lot of that with men. We call low emotional intelligence and stuff like that. If you don't have good esteem, self-esteem, good love for yourself, it's very difficult, as I said, for you to be able to connect with that person, because then you begin to question everybody else and your partner the way you question yourself.
Yeah. So
one of the things that challenges, and here come some of the things that can affect it. Changes in the body. Like, for instance, after I had children, I became very, I know I don't like fat. So whenever I got fat, it was difficult for me to connect in a kind of a way. Okay, we have some musical interruptions here.
Yes.
But did I touch something? I think I touched something. Sorry. So that's one of the things.
Can we just check? Are you still hearing?
I hope you're still hearing. Let us know if you're still hearing. So yes, let me just continue. They'll get to know if they're still hearing us. So yes, that can affect the person not having that self-love, that self-esteem. That can affect the relationship on a whole.
Right.
And then
so the changes, the body changes.
And so it's important as you go on to keep growing in love with yourself. Right. Now I'm not talking about being narcissistic, because that's a big word we're hearing now since somebody has assumed presidency. We're not going there. We're talking about being able to look at yourself with all that you have and don't have. Right. And so and love yourself.
I wish somebody had spoken to me about the challenge that may come when you're having children.
Oh yeah, that changes everything.
So
a lot.
First
everything.
Before the child comes, there might be a period, an extended period, where you can't have sex.
Yeah, based on the situation.
Oh boy, somebody should have told me that.
It wasn't that bad.
Well,
Okay, let's not go there.
So somebody, the thing about it is that I find men don't.
They don't talk about
So
it.
yes, so I hope I can tell some men that
Yeah, yeah.
when, and I'm telling you now, if you're preparing, you're expecting and what have you, sex can happen almost right up to the
Yeah, right up to
almost right
delivery.
up,
Yeah.
as long as they no complicate. But if your wife or girlfriend has complications, some women are bedridden
Yeah.
for almost 9 months.
Yeah.
Huh? I prayed for you, whoever you are, man.
And as a matter of fact, there have been a lot of extramarital relationships that have
boy.
happened during
That's
pregnancy.
really bad.
And people say, oh, the man is wicked. And he probably is,
Yeah.
you know. But listen, that when you're accustomed to having
Yeah.
good sexual relationships and then this
regularly,
thing
yeah.
come and just smash up everything, you're thinking,
Yeah.
what's going on here?
Yeah.
And so that inability to control self pushes you there.
So if your
sometimes.
love is just based on that physical interaction, then it's going to be trouble.
Yeah.
And so somebody needs to say to a man, young man who is going to have a child, sometimes before you may not be able to have sex as much. If that woman has surgery or has complications after, that may be a while.
Really?
So
Yes.
my wife had 3 C-sections. So even if we wanted to make love, I'm not sure she really wanted to make love at that point, and that's understandable.
Yeah.
You still have to be able to wait.
And then
Yes?
somebody should say to the women that pregnancy is not a cut-off stage.
Right.
Because every stage of pregnancy, first trimester, second trimester, third trimester, sex can happen,
Yes,
positions can
especially
change.
at the later trimesters.
Right, and they talk about how the release of the ejaculation helps to soften
Right.
the cervix for preparation for
Yeah.
birthing. So women need to understand, because sometimes, that's what I'm saying to you, you know, when your body changes and you don't feel as attractive, you don't
Yeah.
feel as nice, you know, things start to look different, or even after you have a child and the child, you know, has been breastfeeding, you feel like, oh gosh, I don't feel look so nice. And then that's what I talk about, loving yourself, because you start to think, well, I don't look so nice, so maybe he don't think I
Right.
look so nice, you know, those sort of things.
Mhm.
But being pregnant doesn't eliminate
Right.
healthy sex
So
life.
we're talking
right?
about pregnancy, but we're talking about things that happen in the course
Yes.
of your relationship.
So let me go. You had another. Let me
So
go ahead.
you know, traumatic experiences,
Yes.
financial trouble, all these things can affect the whole experience. And say good night to everybody. Sister Imelda.
Can I add this one? I know we want to do a
Yes.
special session on this one. I want you guys to who come on when we come on to send questions or suggestions. But for me, because it's a passion, mental illness affects a lot of relationships,
Right.
and it affects the love, because when there's not an understanding, and the Bible
Yeah.
talks about the need for understanding. When there's not an understanding, there's an inability to properly deal with it.
Yes, and that understanding goes even to if you're preparing for pregnancy, if it whatever the adjustments
Whatever
are.
the issue is.
So
yes.
lack of communication can also affect the love. Yes,
Yep.
Communication is the air for your marriage, as it is
Relationships,
for your body. It is vital. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't have enough air, you will die. Yes, or sufficient amounts. It's the same thing. If you don't have enough communication, your marriage will eventually die.
Yeah.
So it's very important that, and sometimes they say men don't talk. Yeah. And
Men don't talk generally. You're an exception. You kind of
yeah,
talk.
and
plenty,
even I have had to learn how to,
but they learned well.
and I'm trying to become a better communicator. So
Mhm.
I can talk, but then sometimes it is what I'm talking about and how I talk about it that is.
Well, remind them of the 3 T's that we talked about
right.
last time.
So we talk about tone, the way you say it matters.
Yeah.
We talk about the type of words that matters, and we talk about the timing. In terms of that we have mentioned. You can go back to some of our lives and
Mhm.
listen to that. We spoke about trust last week.
Yeah.
Mistrust will affect love.
Mhm.
If you have caused your partner to mistrust you, it will
Oh,
definitely affect your love.
Mhm.
And unmet expectations. Unmet expectations is a big one. And I
Yeah.
deal with when I deal with couples in preparation. Yes, when you speak with couples in preparation for marriage, that's one of the things that we talk about, unmet expectations. If you're expecting this, and you only get this,
Yep.
that's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? So it's very important that the two parties meet together and say, this is what I expect.
Yes.
Is that realistic?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe there needs to be some compromise, some readjustment, so that you're not constantly disappointing somebody by saying, I'm going to give you 100, and you keep giving them 30.
Without a real reason
Yes.
for giving 30, because there are times when
So that's why there has to be a
change.
readjustment.
Right. So it's all very important, and we talk about life goals and stuff like that. It's good to have goals for your marriage or your relationship. Sit down together. That's intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
That builds intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about where we want to go, how we want to be as a couple, what we want to accomplish, and this brings in the expectations as well. And then because you are changing as an individual and we're changing as a couple, the expectations and the goals would change.
Mm-hmm.
So we continue to revisit them,
Mm-hmm.
and we say, what do we need to do to accomplish it?
That's
But
right.
if this doesn't happen, or if you've had, like Nevin said, if you have agreed on some things and then it doesn't happen, that can cause the love to change. I can share this quickly. I have a friend years ago. She said to me, I could forgive my husband if he cheated. I could forgive my husband if he cheated. But if my husband ever refuses to grow and evolve as a man, I would quickly leave him.
Mm-hmm.
For her, infidelity could be just a slip of in a stupid moment, which it can be, yeah.
Yes, some people
But
think so.
when you consciously sit down and say, I'm just gonna stay how I am, I don't need to change, I don't need to grow, and you're moving from 20 to 30 to 40, you're still the same man. She said, I will quickly leave that man because he's giving nothing to me and to that relationship.
Right.
And the people who think like that, and it is a valid concern, but that is where we look at, then maybe we could look at things to fix that issue as opposed
That's right.
to walking
We're
away
going
from
to
the
talk
relationship.
about that. I'll also say there's a couple that I know of that would have said, would have agreed on some things initially, and came to me and would have said, for example, the man said, for example, Pastor, and don't worry, he's not a member. Don't worry, don't try and check. Plenty people come to us who are not members.
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Because somebody might leave and say talking about members or what have you.
No.
And they said, Pastor, I just want two things. And he said things. He said things. I want sex and a hot meal.
Jesus, man, that's ridiculous.
And,
well, that's easy to please.
and
He's easy to
yes,
please.
and of course the response to the lady was, but when we discussed previously, you said you would do all the cooking. So during the time the marriage, the expectations changed, and it
Yeah.
started to affect the love. And so she then, I hope the compromise has happened. I think they're probably doing well, where they could compromise and say, sometimes you have to cook for your spouse.
But
Yeah?
even that, he wasn't clear as to the hot meal. He just said, I want a hot meal.
Right.
He didn't say, I would like a hot meal, but I'd like if my wife prepare a meal, because there's some men who feel, I'm going to talk about the love languages,
Yes.
so we have to move on. But there's some men who feel extra special when their wife cooks for them. Like, for instance, I am one of those persons, if my husband don't eat for me, things, we go south. Don't feel like cooking and not eating, right? But no, it's a reality. So he was not necessarily so very clear in the expectation. That's what we want to just let you guys understand. Be very clear in your communication. It's okay if all you want is sex and good food, but decide. Do you want sex on a regular? It has to be morning, evening, whatever. Like and this sounds foolish, but relationships have ended because of this. Do you want cooked food 3 times a day? Or are you okay getting oats in the morning, going and buying the food for lunch and getting home cooked dinner? And what is reasonable? Yes, because if your wife is working and has a particular position, she can't cook every day. Or she may not want to. But you have to make sure you're clear and reasonable with your expectations.
And make sure you're constantly checking in and looking at it. Are you meet, and the expectations being met.
Can I add one last thing to what can affect a love? And I want to call it, maybe it's a strong term, affect love in a relationship, is what we call intruders or termites.
Oh boy.
Sometimes we are very, very good at having unwelcome or unnecessary people not only observe our love relationship, but they want to become partner in the party.
Excellent, Billy.
And so you don't want to have people whose status should be observer, supporter, and prayer become active participants in the marriage, because sometimes that can cause love to be affected.
Yes. So let me say this: keep people out of your marriage. No, we're not talking about a counselor, right? A professional. I'm not talking about a pastor that you
Or
may
a good
call.
friend who you trust.
And even the good friend, we may not agree with that one. I'll tell you why. The good friend never forgets the stories that you told him or her relating to your marriage. By the way, family members, parents especially, in-laws, sisters and brothers, please keep them out of your marriage. You can't, of course you can say to them, we're having a challenging time, just pray for us.
Yeah.
But don't get into the details. Why? You see, when you don't get over and you doing well, that mommy and daddy will give that poor son-in-law bad face, push up mouth.
Because it's the son.
That's right.
And there's
because the daughter said son-in-law.
Right. Yes.
Because don't get them involved, because they can affect the connection. Your spouse will feel like you're betraying them. Your spouse will feel like you're throwing out their dirty laundry in public, even if it's a close person.
But here's the other thing to that. You do not want to have your spouse have to choose between their family, who they love, and this relationship that they love. But the other thing is, you talk about negative experiences. There are many relationships and loves that have gone bad because the marriage was good. So women, and this is something women need to learn to do, don't go around talking about how good your husband is and how good the sex is and those sort of things, because there are people out there who are saying, oh, but I want that too. And they feel they have to now get your husband or your wife. No. This is a real situation. This girl who sang Calypso this year, is Oh Be They Working to Love, that song there. I don't know if I should say that loud, but I love it. But seriously, so you don't go around. There are things you can share, and there's a way to share about relationship. I can share. When I got married first, I remember sharing with some person some things that you would do, and they're like, your husband did that? Oh, my husband didn't do that. And at one point, the Lord just spoke to me, and he had to stop sharing that, because I was doing it innocently. But then I started to see a kind of reaction, like, so they were starting to now question their husband, and that was not my intention.
Right.
We were just sharing as women, but they started to now question their husband. I'm like, but why are you questioning your husband like that? I mean, you and him are two different persons, and you have to agree to that in a relationship. So sometimes even boasting or bragging about the good things in a relationship, be careful, because that can bring in unwanted or unnecessary persons into the love relationship, and that can put a stake in it and mash up your relationship and your marriage.
Yeah, keep mommy, keep sister. I know it's hard, because those are the people you love and trust, and they've given you advice for many years, but sometimes it becomes an issue. So just be mindful of that. If you need to talk to somebody, I suggest a counselor, professional, or a pastor who you can trust, and the pastor would not share that with anybody else.
Should not. And always pray about it.
And always pray about it. But please don't go to the next extreme, and don't go to anybody, because some people say, well, I'm going to keep it all, I'm not even going to share to a professional. Sometimes you need a little help.
Somebody said, I'm not a third wheel. That is correct.
So just be mindful of that. Yes. So how do you build it back? So sometimes love fades, and again we say, if you feel your love is starting to fade, I'm saying to you that it can get better. It can improve. Yes. And one of the books that we love, certainly is not the only authority, and I'm sure there are other excellent tools out there, but one of the things I love is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. If you have a chance, you can buy the book, or maybe if you know me well enough, we might be able to lend you.
No, I don't lend books. because I don't get them back, and I love my books. I'm very so he can lend you his. Because sometimes like,
Maybe,
where's
maybe.
that particular book? I don't know. Let it
It's true.
No, you're getting mine. I'll
So-
photocopy a chapter.
The five love languages I think are really, really good.
Yes.
Gary Chapman has a story in there about a man on his third marriage, and he said the man said to his wife, "I love you. It's a privilege to be your spouse. You are so beautiful. You are wonderful, and what have you." He said none of it worked. You know why it didn't work? That wasn't her love language.
Yeah.
What is the love language? It is the way the person feels loved, right? Is that which is,
Did you say, can I borrow?
we'll talk.
Photocopy a chapter.
We'll talk. So, and by the way, what happens is that your love language, you try to impose that on the person. Or not impose, unwittingly, because
You
that is how
project
you
it.
love. For
Yes.
example, if my love language is affirming words, that's one of them. We're going to go through all of them briefly. If my language is affirming, then I would be affirming to Billy. You're so beautiful.
But then my love
that's not
language
her
is
language.
actually acts
Quality
of
time.
service or quality time.
So let's go to the five of them.
Yes.
Physical touch, affirming words, gift giving,
Acts of service,
quality time.
Do it again so they can get it.
Yes. So what are the five love languages? Gary Chapman is an anthropologist. He's a counselor. He studied this.
And he has also written this concept with the way God loves us.
Yes.
So he has love languages for parents
Yes.
and how you raise your children, which is a good book as well.
Yes.
And he also has one with the love languages of God.
Yes.
So
And it's really good. I
Yeah.
can tell you that. So
let's
what
go
are
through them
they?
again.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It is words of affirmation, affirming words. It is physical touch. It is
Quality time.
It's
Receiving gifts.
Yes.
Acts of service.
And acts of service.
When it's explain each of them, I'll take
Right.
two. And so let's look at. Well, let me look at the one that I like.
Are we talking about rekindling the love?
Yes.
Getting the love back. This is one of the ways you possibly can.
So acts of service
Yes.
is a one where the person likes to have and be engaged in serving people or being served.
Right.
Right? So
if your love language acts of service, you want that to be done to you.
So give an example.
If Billy, I'm not saying that is hinting one of her love languages, but cleaning the dishes, washing the bathroom, ensuring the place is clean, helping out in the house in whatever way. Those are acts of service.
So in that instance, they accept what we call help, actual help, as a sign of love.
Yes.
So when you help me, I feel like you love me.
Yes.
And when you don't help, I feel like you don't love. So imagine a lot of those marriages where they break down because the wife would say, "He don't help do nothing."
Yes,
No matter
yes.
I mean, we've met many like that. He don't do nothing in the house.
Her love language is acts of service.
Yes, many times.
It's possible. Very
Here's
possible.
the other thing. It's not like you only have one.
Right.
You may have a predominant one, but
Right.
the
You have
others are
others.
all the other four are important to you, but there may be a predominant one, or maybe even two for some people. So
There's this video on Facebook of a woman who came home,
oh yeah.
and when the man was relaxing, and she went in the kitchen.
No, she said, "I'm gonna go wash the dishes now."
Yes, and she was very tired.
She's like, "It's
When
already
she went
done."
in, it's done, been clean. He went to the bathroom, done. All this time, she's getting turned on.
Yeah.
He went to the bedroom,
The children.
clean.
The children were in bed and
Children in bed. Went to the bathroom. The thing. Not only did he clean the bedroom, but it was vacuumed. I hope you didn't miss that. And so, by the time she checked everything, man, she almost broke off her neck to have sex.
not that he mind anyway.
No.
So he's probably thinking, well, I know what to do next time.
Yes.
But the point is that you have to speak the other person's language, and
That's
why
right. You're not.
building the relationship becomes so important.
That's
Taking
right.
the time.
What
you have to know the
matters?
person
What matters to your spouse
should matter to you.
should matter to you,
Yes.
and what matters to the person is what you should really give
Yes.
effort in.
Right.
Yes, you're trying to meet each other. Right. So acts of service.
Let's look at the other one. So, receiving gifts.
Yes. Boy, some of us love gifts.
Hint, hint.
Yes, man. Give it a gift, man.
Yeah.
And by the way,
Simple gift.
even if this is not your love language, or that's not your spouse's love language, that doesn't mean you shouldn't give them gifts.
Yes.
I don't make joke with those things. Now, some people don't celebrate Valentine's and celebrate. All right, they may not celebrate those things, but they don't mind if they get a gift.
But here's the point.
Get a flower.
Here's the point with that. You may not celebrate all these commercialized things, but celebrate something.
That's right.
Have something in your marriage that you celebrate. Let it be the first day you met. I don't know, the first day you kissed. When you, I don't know.
Or something you do every
something
week.
that you celebrate.
So I had a tendency of just buying a flower for Billy. Yes. After a while, I realized she didn't love flowers so much. But I still buy it. But she appreciated it. She appreciated it. Yes. And so don't bother with people who say, well, I don't do all. They still want to know that the person is making an effort and showing them appreciation and buying gifts.
Right. I want to add to that. A lot of people have said to us, things hard. Listen, we're not saying to go and buy Versace and go buy Kenneth Cole if you can't afford it. If you can't buy it, please buy it. But if you can't, sometimes you may see the person needs a new lunch bag. You can afford a $50 lunch bag, right?
Yes.
Go buy a new one. You see the person talk about some little things. Sometimes a simpler thing like our children, we are trying to bring home something for them. Bring home a chocolate. I mean, don't indulge in too much unhealthy eating. But bring home something.
Yes.
Because that is a gift. What it says is that you thought about me.
Yes, you feel appreciated, Cindy
right.
says.
Yes.
And it's being thoughtful. Of course, we don't. If you want to, you can buy and read the book. We're just giving you a synopsis of what may be saying.
Quality time.
Quality time. I find a lot of women, this is their love language. I don't know. This is probably how God made them. And so I have never met a woman or heard of one who did not want quality time. In fact, if there was a complaint from women say amen, is that sometimes the man doesn't spend enough time.
Because
quality
that
time.
is where
not sex time.
That's it.
Yeah.
But that is
Quality
where
time.
the bonding takes place.
Yeah.
That's where the bonding and the attachment take place. And here's the thing. You have to understand, in our society, a lot of our women were raised in families where proper attachments were not formed. Especially women who were raised without fathers. Do you know that is where the proper attachment and bonding takes place? So they go into relationships with these men who most times resemble their father in some way, the father didn't have, and they want to bond, one, because they're naturally supposed to bond, and two, because it's something that they're missing, that they haven't healed from their own childhood issues. But quality time is important. Even if it's not your love language, it should be a priority in your relationship.
And I can tell you, men, if you're listening, I don't know if any men are listening, quality time matters to women.
Yeah.
It should
Not on
matter.
your phone.
It should matter to men too.
Yeah.
But it's something about the way God made women. I think most women appreciate quality time. And then we have words of affirmation.
Yeah.
Oh boy. By the way, I think every person should use words of affirmation. But as I said to you a while ago, here is this man who was on his third marriage. The love had faded, and he thought, telling his wife over and over again how much he appreciated her. Oh, you're the most wonderful person ever. He thought that would actually help the situation. But essentially it didn't, because that wasn't her love language.
Yes.
Now, that does not mean you should not use affirming words. In fact, I'd say to any relationship, any couple, if your words are not affirming, then there's a problem. And Gary Chapman breaks it down with kind words, encouraging words, in terms of talking about words of affirmation.
Mm-hmm.
Please use kind words. What I've found, and this has happened in our marriage too, and it has happened in most marriages. Sometimes the people you love the most, sometimes you say the most unkind things to.
Yeah.
Yeah? Say the most. I found that even with my mommy, I was close to my mommy, and I sometimes said things to my mommy that I didn't say to my daddy. Yeah? Sometimes the people you're most close to, or closest to.
They get the raw deal, eh?
Yeah.
But here's the other thing. A lot of men, most men love affirmation. Men like to hear women
It's something
say,
about how God made us
made
too.
the men, yeah.
That's,
so it's
and
a
that's
part of the ego, you know?
Yes, that's why it says, wife, submit to your husband.
Which speaks to respect.
Respect and support.
Right.
So encourage your men. I appreciate your effort. You work hard. You take care of you look out for me. Affirm them. But this is for everybody. Please use kind words. Actually, you have to be intentional about it, because sometimes we say the most unkind things, especially when we're heated, to the person we love, and be encouraging. Yes, because it's so hard already sometimes at work. It's so hard sometimes outside of the house. When the person, your spouse, gets home, use encouraging words. Yes.
But can I also add to that? Sometimes we get so caught up in the humdrum. We just have about 10 minutes left. Get caught up in the humdrum of marriage that we forget these affirming words.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you.
So research shows that you should say I love you every day. You should try to kiss every day. Now, I mean, I guess you can practice a vex kiss, because you're not gonna be happy all the time.
Yeah.
But these things actually, and it is Harley, I think, who talks like this. Talk about the love bank. Oh, Gottman, I think. I don't know.
Yes.
So when you do these things on a regular, you're building up your love bank, because things are gonna happen that's gonna withdraw, whether you want it to or not. But if you keep doing these things, you have a good account. Think about like a bank account. You put money in, also often withdraw. You have love bank. You have accounts for your love relationship. Put in constantly in your love bank, so that when things happen and withdrawals take place, you have things left
So
to
be
continue
careful.
to build on.
So, and the opposite is true. Unkind words will damage. That will cause a lot of hurt. And by the way, sticks, as I said to you, sticks and stones, that nonsense that is almost sticks and stones, that's not true. Words rarely matter. And so just as the affirming words will build up that bank, the unkind words, the non-affirming words, will break down the bank. Yes? So be careful what you say. We're so stupid. We always think. You always be careful. It can affect the marriage. And the last one.
Physical touch.
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones.
It's true, he's a touchy-feely and I'm not touchy-feely.
Right. But a lot of men were made with this particular love language.
Touchy-feely.
In fact, they did a research. No, the physical touch. It's not only touchy-feely. Talking about sex also.
Yes.
When they did a research about what...
but you have to be careful now. Physical touch don't just mean sex, eh?
Right. I'm not saying that either. But it's inclusive of the sex too.
Yes.
Right.
Clever.
And when they did a research, on what men want. They did women, quality time, intimacy, a long list, all kind of things. And sex was about number 9 or 10 in the list of 10. When they checked the man's list, sex 1, sex 2, sex 3, then something else came in. The point is that God has wired men. Not all men. There are anomalies. There's some women who have a strong desire for sex, but most men are wired. It's the testosterone in our system. It is the way we were made. But as Biddy said, physical touch is not just sexual. So physical touch is just spending time with your spouse. It is lying down in the bed, just cuddling, hugging up each other, without even getting to the point of sex. It is spending time together, holding hands. I love to hold hands. Holding hands with your spouse. It is giving them a massage. It is giving them a feet rub. With
your essential oils.
Yes, if you have them. The physical touch is absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
So that's why we said you try to kiss your spouse every day. Yes, physical touch can make. So if your spouse's love language is physical touch,
and you don't touch, they're gonna feel like you don't love them.
that's right.
Yeah. So the important, we just recapping, we just have about 5 minutes. The important thing is to understand that you do not communicate from your love language. You don't impose it on the other person.
And you do it.
Find out what their love language is and love them from their place.
Not from, because the way you your love language may be, you may automatically operate like that.
Yeah.
So, for example, my love language might be, I'm just throwing it out, physical touch. That may not be hers, but because that is my love language, I will naturally want to do that by expressing love to her. But no, hers might be quality time. And so, what matters, the needs of my spouse is what should matter to me.
Yes.
Yes.
And there's a way to make them come together at the same time, you know. So even, let's say I like the example you just gave. If my language is quality time and your language is touch, we can spend some time sitting down, do whatever, just spending time, and we're just cuddling or touching and just talking about, you know, not important stuff, because that's not the time to be talking about bills and what you do and what happened in church, and it's just, unless that's what you connect with, you know, just, you know, things just to bond and build,
That's
and
right.
what you thought about or what you're thinking or what you're feeling, those sort of things.
Yeah. And so inclusive in all of that is going out,
Yes.
going on dates. We try,
Vacation.
well, COVID kind of limited it with the children. Yes.
Sorry.
Well, you can do
This
it
is
home
here.
too.
Yeah.
But we try to have a date night every week. Yes. We try to be intentional about some things. There's some things I don't love to do that I force myself to do, and there's some things she doesn't love to do that she would force herself to do.
Yeah, because I have a list and he has 3 items, like bam, 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 and I'm like, turn the page. So I mean, that's just the reality. That's the difference of, you know, persons in relationships, and you learn to work with it.
And so, we think if you rediscover or even discover, because some of us don't know what our love language may be. If you discover it, and there's a way, I'm sorry we didn't walk with it. There's a test that you can do. Yeah, that's why the book is so good. There's a test that you can do.
It's online also, actually.
It's online. Google it.
Go and do it.
Do it and see what your love language is. Yeah.
So
see what your love language is.
Somebody's asking. So we saw a lot of comments. Thank you for commenting.
Yes.
But we're
Good
not
night
seeing
to
a
Reverend
question.
Onita.
Hi, Onita.
Samuel
Onita.
Warner.
How dangerous is verbal abuse in marriage? Well, that is one of those things that will destroy love. Because when we talked about the self-esteem, verbal and emotional abuse knocks at a person's self-worth and self-esteem. And the more, the less you feel good about yourself, is the less you want to connect with other people, because we tend to think people see us the way we see ourselves, right? So verbal abuse, emotional abuse, and definitely physical abuse will definitely knock at the love and can destroy the marriage.
Right. So that's so non-affirming words.
Right.
Right. So the book by
you're stupid, you're ugly, you can't cook, you're like your mother, those sort of things. You know, Caribbean people are, I'm just saying like that because that's how Caribbean people talk.
It's all miserable.
You're miserable, lie, hush your mouth now. I've heard some people say some things, and I'm like, really?
And there are no perfect marriages. Sometimes you get angry and say things you shouldn't say.
Yes.
Yeah? We're not talking about the 1 or 2 instances where it might happen. We're talking about a constant barrage of negative, non-affirming words. And to get over that and to build up that bank, that good bank, you have to affirm. So the book we're talking about is The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. He has all kinds of editions. The one that I have been reading is the men's edition.
There's one for parents. There's one for
women,
God. There's one for women too, I think, but there's one for how God loves us as well. So we have 1 minute. I think it's gone, but can I just share these quickly? The things that we could do to help our love to last, and it's so important just to focus on these things as you go through, as you evolve. So first thing is, take time to know the person and relearn your partner, because we change all the time.
Yes.
Have sex, have physical connection in your marriage, because that releases the good chemicals. It keeps you connected, that keeps you bonded. And remember to get and love yourself, right? That's so important. We can't emphasize that enough. Be honest, be open and honest. We talked about this. It's about love. Be open and honest in your relationship, and be clear and open and honest about what your expectations are. And we're rushing through, but boundaries, that's the last one. Boundaries and intimacy. Learn to express yourself. Learn to say when I need some time, I need some space, and that other person has to learn to respect that. You can't always have enmeshment. Codependency is a real problem in relationships. We're finished. It's a real problem in relationships. It destroys it. But if you're able to have and maintain good boundaries, these and other things can help you build a love that lasts.
And again, as we end up identifying what your love language is.
Yep.
But having identified it, share it with your partner.
Yes.
Let them know what it is, and try and meet the needs relating to your spouse.
Your
yes, not by your love language. You meet that person's need in terms of their love language. And we want to leave with you knowing that marriages go through ups and downs. The love may fade. Yes, there may be some issues, and we identified what some of those things can be, but it can come back up again. There are many marriages that have gotten better over time.
Yes. So
this hour finishes very quickly.
And we're glad you enjoyed the discussion. We just want to see, just like we want for you, we want our marriage to last. We want our marriage to.
And we're working on our marriage too.
Every day.
We're not there yet, and I don't know if you'll ever get there, but all of us are works in progress.
Yes.
Yeah. You can look forward to many different topics: sexy Christians. Yeah. Crazy love.
Yeah.
Mental illness, how you deal with that. And many others.
And you can suggest some send a message.
Yes. Tell us what topic you'd love to hear.
Yes.
Us explore.
Yes.
Thank you again. Thank you for your prayers and support. It has been a tough week, but the grace of God has kept us.
Hallelujah.
Please have a wonderful night. This is another edition in Muddy Puddles. Life will offer you some rough times, and there will be some muddy puddles.
Yes.
But it might provide some opportunity for growth. And you can jump in your muddy puddles and enjoy life and grow through it. God bless you.
Good night.
Please share the live, and God bless you.